Hello everybody, I'm SJM. Welcome back to Valhelsia 5. First off, I missed an update because of the launcher not telling me that there was an update available, so definitely recorded at least one episode, maybe even two. No, I think it was only one because I think I was 3 days late to actually get it installed, and it's been a few days even since then. But not any huge things added in here, but just things that are coming into 1.19 that the team is finally getting into the pack. Create, crafts, and additions. This is basically just the add-on to create that allows you to use RF to produce the power for create, the rotational power. Flux Networks is a really big one. This is the first method of wireless power transmission that we'll have in the pack. I'm not going to be doing a lot with tech stuff in this playthrough, but for those that do, Flux Networks is one of your primary, like primo mods that you want to be using. I'll go over it in this episode so that you can use it if you want to do some little things as well. And Valhelsia Furniture, not sure the reasoning, but the team actually developed their own furniture mod for themselves, so they've thrown it into this pack here because I'm not sure if like Mr. Crayfish is currently updating his furniture mod, and all the other sort of decorative mods are kind of a little bit behind coming into 1.19 if I'm not mistaken. So they made their own. My friend Jangro's done a mod overview of it over on his channel. And I'll also be referencing over to him for the Applied Energistics 2. I'm just setting up a simple storage system because I'm tired of digging through chests trying to find all of my stuff. So I just threw together a quick AE2 system just to make it my life a little bit easier for myself. Mod authors are updating their mods, so they're just kind of getting updated with this thing. No other major changes to talk about here. You may have noticed that I did a live stream. I may start doing some more on a regular basis. Any feedback on timings or days of the week? I'm thinking maybe 2 days a week on the weekdays. I work 9 to 5, so it'll obviously be in the evenings. And that's I'm in Canada, so it'll be in the mountain time zone. So whatever that translates to wherever you are, just let me know in the comments if there's a preferred time for that, or preferred days. Sorry, the time's kind of restrictive on that. And then maybe sort of a longer form, 3 to 4 hours on a Sunday afternoon for me is kind of what I'm looking at there. Oh, I need to be on here before I hit F11 and go full screen. So getting back into the game here. So I've installed my crafting terminal into the wall, and I've got it covered up with the facades here. All this stuff's pretty straightforward in JEI if you want to make them, but I really like it because you get to hide all of your stuff away in a way that makes it look a little bit less intrusive. And actually the one thing that I was going to do, and we may as well do it on camera. I think I'm going to I don't think red's going to work here. I think I'm going to do pink. I think I'm going to do pink. I forget how to apply it. Do I have to do it this way? I forget. You're supposed to be able to color these. And I totally don't know how to right now, so totally forgetting how that all works. But you can see down here, I've got my controller and my ME drive hooked up down there. With the 6 double chests full, especially with all the one-off stuff, I ran out of types really quickly in these 1Ks. Although there's, gold is my highest one, so I've got more spruce than I have gold, but at any rate, it was the types that I got super limited on, so I'm actually still storing some things over in my over in some chests over there with some one-off stuff that just is clogging up the system more or less. But just put all this back together. Oh, and I can show you back here as well. So just apply that on there, and then in the back here I added my ender chest there with can I hit it? Yes, it's an import bus. So if as long as this chunk loader is running, then anything I send through my ender pouch into the system will get automatically input into the system, if there's room. I guess is the best way to say that. And then we'll just install that back there, and it all looks really normal. One of the beautiful things I do like about AE2 there. Yeah, I just totally forget how to color the ME faces. So if you know, please let me, please give me direction on how to do that down in the comments, because that's actually frustrating me now. So here we'll go over the crafting for just the AE2 system, and I'll put a link down below for Jangro's video that he did where he goes into it full in depth, but because I'm not going to be going into it here. So we will need inscribers, and you'll need to find the crafting recipe is pretty simple. Just the sticky pistons will be the tricky thing, and you'll have to get slime from somewhere for that. But you will need to find one of these meteors in the world, crashed meteors, and in the middle they'll have a mysterious cube which will have all 4 of the presses that you need to get into it, as well as these budding Certus quartz, and they come in various degrees of what is it, like damaged. So this one was growing Certus for a while, but once you harvest enough off it, then it breaks, so to speak. And then you can pick it up from there, and you can always get 4 more Certus quartz crystals out of it that way as well. If you find one that's flawless, then you can silk touch it and move it to your base. I think you can silk touch any of these, but they'll just continue to degrade after a while, so you'll just have to be aware of that. And if you find a flawless version, then that's the one you want to pick up either with silk touch, or you can use a cardboard box from Mechanism as well to move them around if you want. So yeah, you'll need the inscribers to make the circuits, and the circuits are made just following through JEI. It's all done in the inscribers, and you can see how Jangro set up the automation for it over on his video there. But you don't even really need the controller right off the start, but it's the way that you can get power into the system, so it's important in that regard. So I just have one of the Flux plugs from the wireless from the Flux Networks powering that over here in my base area. And yeah, just following along with these crafting recipes to get the certain processors that you need. It's a little bit involved, but it's not anything too horrible. And then the only other tricky thing is in the cables is getting the Flux Crystals. So you have to throw a charged Certus quartz, and you'll need to get a charger and give it power and put in one of these Certus quartz crystals into it to get that. And in-world transformation. So you throw a charged Certus, a piece of redstone, another quartz, takes about 2 to 3 seconds, and it'll pop out 2 Flux crystals for you that way as well. If you have Flux dust from another source, then basically to get it, you just crush down the Flux dust, but if you have it, then you can just get it but 1-to-1, so there's not really any duplicating you can do here. I'm not sure how you get these in mass quantities, other than the fact that there's an AE2 based villager in 119 now. So that's the way that Django suggests getting massive amounts of this Flux crystals if you really want. And you just need some of the storage components, and these go all the way up the line. So you can put three 1Ks together and you'll get a 4K. 111 gets you a 4K. If you put three 4Ks together, then you will get a 16. And if you put three 16s together, then you get a 64. So the more you craft together, the more you can store in them, but it doesn't actually increase the number of types that they go. So there is some balancing as far as the storage side of AE2, and actually there's quite a lot of min-maxing that is required for it. Actually, I don't need to worry about Mr. Enderman because I have access to the end now. As I was saying in the live stream, I went to the end. I killed the dragon, launched around, did a big circle around the end island and the innermost outer islands, finding end cities and getting a couple of Elytras. And if you didn't notice before, but now all of my armor is gone because I went hunting through the end, or through the nether, to get some materials together because I did want to upgrade my book. And I have found out how to get to the Void Worm Eye, but I'll go through that in a different episode. We've got enough to go through in this one here. So when I got my Elytra, I definitely, first thing I went ahead and made a thread of gliding. It requires a tier 3 slot to put it in, so I had the gold-based armor at level 2, which actually did get me access to a tier 3 slot in my chest and my legs, so I was able to get that on there. I used it a very minimal amount, and then I lost it all in the nether. I died once, and then jumped back in, but there was a bunch of piglins around that then murdered me promptly right after, and then all of my stuff spilled out of my death idol, and the piglins decided that they were going to pick it up and put on all of my armor. They stole my sword, and luckily they didn't touch my book, but at the same time, just a huge inconvenience. Now I have to go and recraft all my armor, which is why we see all of this stuff here, because I'm about to go and do that probably in the next live stream that I do. So if you catch that, I don't have an announcement for it because this video will probably be out after I do that live stream. I did, once I killed the dragon and came back though, I found a diamond backpack, or actually I found 2 diamond backpacks while I was flying around out there, so I quickly stored up all of my experience in my backpack, so I just put a tank upgrade and got the experience pump upgrade. This is just a basic, well, not a basic, it's a little bit of a rabbit hole to get the experience pump for your backpack, but it is super handy because I now have, all my experience stored up, and all those deaths I took in the nether really only cost me my thing, and I've got built up a huge backlog, so 1,280 buckets. Oh no, that's 128 buckets, right? 1,000 millibuckets is 1 bucket. So 128 buckets of experience there, and then this smaller advanced fluid tank was 63,000 more now because I had 64, but I started crafting a book to reset that and decided I was going to do it a little bit later, but got tons of experience now that I don't have to worry about losing. So that's definitely one of the things I suggest doing if you have a backpack, getting the upgrades in there. I could probably also add a feeding upgrade so I don't have to eat manually anymore. And then that leaves you a couple of slots free where you could do a stack upgrade, because if you want to and maybe like an auto pickup upgrade as well for while you're mining might be a good idea, but there's lots of different upgrades that you can do in the backpacks. Let's go over the Flux Networks. It's the number of items that we need in here is pretty minimal, but there's a little bit of involvement, and I'll go over it pretty quickly. So Flux dust is obtained by compressing redstone dust with bedrock and obsidian. There's actually two different ways you can do it, but the first time you have to go down to bedrock to do it, and you'll need a piece of obsidian with you as well. I'm not going to demonstrate it perfectly right here, but if I can just get a simple building block, I can show y'all. Anything will do. Basically, you're going to have your piece of bedrock there, then you're going to put your obsidian there. You'll throw your redstone on the ground underneath it, and I suggest doing 2 to 3 stacks of redstone at a time. And then you just left click on the obsidian block. It will fall down. It will squash all of the redstone into the flux dust, and then you will have the obsidian actually turns into a piece of cobblestone at that point as well. So if you screw up once, then you're going to need multiple pieces of obsidian to get that done. Once you have the flux dust, then you can get looking at making the flux cores, and this is why I went to the end, because it had taken me 200 some odd days. So I'm on day 238 now, so I was a little bit over 200 days, and I barely had 12 ender eyes to my name. I think I had 13 total with all of the partial ones that you get from the forbidden mod that adds it to it. So I decided I was going to use my eyes as an investment first, get to the end, because it's super easy to get ender pearls once you have access to the end. So that's the reasoning why I rushed to the end, is because I needed ender eyes to start getting into the Flux Networks, because you do need to make a ton of these recipes to get anywhere really. Flux block is just made with flux cores and these, and if you don't want to go back down to bedrock, you can make one of these and use the same obsidian crushing trick with redstone to get more flux dust if you do happen to run out later on. The two main components that you'll need is a flux point, which provides the energy, and the flux plug, which takes the energy and puts it into the system. So on my controller there, I've got one of the points, and over in my mech area is where I have my plug set up there. So just going on there, the first time when you go in, you'll have to create a network. I just created one and made it so that I can do it. My AE system is currently using about 20 FE a tick or so, and that's the only thing that's drawing any power out of it. And I just have that hooked up straight to my basic energy cube for now. So as long as the windmills are doing their thing and this area is chunk loaded, then we'll have access to some power. Later on, I will base it off of my immersive engineering, but I'm not at that point just yet. Speaking of immersive engineering, the last thing I wanted to talk about was a secondary or a better source of power. As I mentioned, the windmill here is pretty pathetic in power output, and we'll really only be using it to do my setup for powered lanterns around my base, to do some lighting that way rather than having all of these mineral torches all over the place. And these also stop mob spawns in a 64 block diameter, 32 block radius. But the next tier would be the water wheel, which I said I was going to skip, but then the next one, which is pretty powerful, is the thermoelectrics. And those are really nice because they're completely passive, and if you've done a little bit of research on it, then you'll know. Basically, they work by having something cold on one side of them and something hot on the other side. And I've got it set up down in here for now, which is the ideal setup for it, but we'll go over the power in here and placing a hot fluid on one side and a colder fluid on the other. So if you didn't know any better, you just put lava on one side and water on the other, and that'll help generate some energy for you. But the higher the differences in the gradients is, the more energy that this block will produce. And it actually gives you, something happens from time to time with me, and it really bugs everything out, but this page usually makes a lot more sense. But anyways, packed ice is the best for blue ice is the best for the cold. And then down here and you can't even scroll down, block of uraniums is the best for the hot. So that's what I've got set up here. I had lots and lots of uranium because we got the overpowered ore quintupling system going on. So I had tons of uranium. So whatever your limiting factor is, the one that you would do a diagonal down the middle on. And you can see this singular generator here. It's got a cold on that side, a hot on that side, and a hot and a cold on these two sides. So that's now doing the most bang for your buck. And then I just need to add in 4 more thermoelectrics over there, which I'll add in over time. I just wanted to get to a high voltage battery before I started storing any of the power that this is going to generate. And then I'll throw a flux plug on there to move the power around my base, because the immersive engineering wires, you can't hide them very well. So the only times I'll be using them is for a decorative sense instead of a practical sense for powering all of my systems, because we now do have the Flux Networks in place. I think that was everything that I wanted to go over. I got to get everything all kind of tidied up and moved around, because I've got all the creosote I could ever need. How much is left in here? Yeah, there's 16 extra buckets of total storage in the liquid hopper if you run over, but I'm kind of finished doing any of the coal coke production. I definitely don't need this machine for steel. I just needed to get some slag, which I went over before. And I'm going to start expanding all of my base kind of all over the rest of this island. And I might even do a mine colony, because that's going to fit kind of with what I want to do with the build, although I get super impatient and frustrated with that mod. So I may not do it overall and may just have like all of my immersive stuff kicking around over there because I'm going to go in deep into that mod in this playthrough, unless they add something which interests me a lot more than that. But time will tell on that one. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the episode. I appreciate you all, and we will see you in the next one.